Good afternoon, everybody. The first McDonald's restaurant opened in 1953. While that may be a good or bad thing, depending on who you are, there is no doubting the impression it has made in our culture. However, there was a magical decade where if you were a kid, this was truly the place to be. Today, let's remember McDonald's from the 1980s. I have no idea what sort of nightmare fuel they placed on our kids in the 1970s, but the McDonald's gang from the 70s was sometimes creepy, but mostly disturbing. However, the evolution of the characters in the McDonald's cinematic universe would find their sweet spot in the 1980s. Here are a few examples to give you an idea of what I mean. The Hamburglar. First introduced in 1971, it was his job to steal hamburgers from Ronald. His official name is Hamilton B. Ergler, and there was also a movement in the 1970s to call him the Lone Jogger.
Who's that?
That's the Lone Jogger. He likes McDonald's breakfast too.
Like delicious McDonald's hotcakes.
Sorry, what? And the Lone Jogger made some weird noises. This is just creepy. However, in the 1980s, he would begin to evolve into the robble we remember fondly. He did eventually begin to speak in 1985 and became a goofy guy with the rest of the gang. Then, like all things, he was redesigned into a grown man sporting some stubble. I mean, what in the world is this? With this, we'll say no thank you. Continuing with the theme of theft, they would also introduce Grimace in 1972. In the beginning, he had 4 arms and was another bad guy that would try to steal milkshakes. Sometime later, it was revealed that he was meant to be a taste bud. I always assumed he was a milkshake. McDonald's officially says, whether he's a taste bud, a milkshake, or just your favorite purple blob, the best part about Grimace is that he means different things to different people. The spokesperson goes on to say, whatever he is, we're just proud our bestie makes people happy. Later in the 70s, he would be changed to have just 2 arms and look more like the fun blob we knew in the 80s. And just like the Hamburglar, you would see him transform into being another good goofy guy. Birdie the Early Bird. Better late than never, Birdie would be the first identifiable female character introduced in 1980, and she would be in the McDonald's commercials with the McDonaldland game to help introduce the breakfast items of McDonald's. And Ronald McDonald, the leader of the pack. The origin of Ronald McDonald involves Willard Scott, who was a local radio personality at the time, and you may know him as the popular weatherman. He also played Bozo the Clown on WRC TV in Washington, D.C. from 1959 until 1962. He then would become Ronald McDonald, the Hamburger Happy Clown in 1963 on 3 separate television spots.
Now where is that clown? Oh, Ronald! 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 Hey, Ronald!
Here I am, kid. Hey, isn't watching TV fun? Especially when you got delicious McDonald's hamburgers.
Ronald, you can't be on TV and watch it at the same time. Now come on and meet the boys and girls.
Oh, we've already met. I know we're going to be friends, too, because I like to do everything boys and girls like to do. Especially when it comes to eating those delicious McDonald's hamburgers. A magic tray here keeps me well supplied. McDonald's hamburgers, french fries, and milkshake.
While credited by McDonald's as the first performer to portray Ronald McDonald, the fast food kings have been less than forthcoming with the details. His voice would change throughout the years depending on who portrayed him. But in the 80s, I think he really found his stride and became less creepy. Then there's the Professor. Not really much to say here. He was there, that's for sure. Never really understood this character. There are some characters that are no longer around, and it is assumed this is the case because of a lawsuit that was filed by Sid and Marty Krofft for similarities to HR Pufnstuf. Which I mean, maybe. The story goes that McDonald's ad agency Needham, Harper & Steers had originally approached the Kroffts in 1970 about designing a Pufnstuf type style campaign. The admin asked the Kroffts some pretty specific questions about their creative and technical process, right down to what fabrics they use and how they got characters' mouths to move, but McDonald's nixed the campaign. But then, in 1971, the restaurant debuted the McDonaldland commercials that allegedly copied their pitched idea. The Kroffts sued McDonald's and the legal battle stretched until 1977. One legal argument would say that Mayor McCheese was clearly not a ripoff of H&R Pufnstuf because of his formal attire and diplomat stash. Pufnstuf displayed his mayoral credentials on a cummerbund. In the end, the Kroffts won $50,000 and, according to records, have regularly collected checks from McDonald's, while the hamburger people have done their best to keep the particulars of the case out of the public earshot. One of these characters that were involved in the controversy was Mayor McCheese. He was an enormous cheeseburger-headed character who first appeared in 1971 and then was finally removed in 1985. And he was portrayed as the McDonald's bumbling, incompetent mayor. And seen on the playground would be Officer Big Mac, who was also introduced in 1971 and who was also dropped in 1985. He was similar to Mayor McCheese in appearance, and he had a large burger for a head. However, his head is a Big Mac, minus the vegetables and special sauce. Officer Big Mac is said to be the chief of police, and as such he wears a constable uniform with a small custodian helmet resting upon his head.
Stop! Whoa! I can't!
And Captain Crook. Here's another one I never really understood. He was a pirate captain who was introduced in 1971 as one of the main antagonists and was dropped in 1985. Captain Crook steals Filet-O-Fish sandwiches and often interprets Hamburglar's gibberish as no one could understand him otherwise. There were some lesser known characters such as the Fry Kids, which were just little creatures that looked like pom-poms and of course love french fries. You would also see Bernice, Sunday, Talking Burgers, the McNugget Buddies, and the Happy Meal Gang. Now let's talk about the 1980s McDonald's food. Yes, there was some adult food introduced in the 1980s, however at the time the restaurant was really wanting to push that they were a place for kids. So while yes, there was the McDLT, McRib, and others, let's take a look at the Happy Meal. While technically it was introduced in 1979, we're gonna go ahead and let the 80s take credit. I mean, it seems like it was around December, so that still counts. You would get fries, burger, or McNuggets, a drink, a toy, and a sampler of cookies. The Happy Meal box itself was also full of games, and the movie tie-ins were pretty cool, with movies such as E.T. and Star Trek the Motion Picture. The apple and cherry pie. They would have others that would pop in and out like apricot pie, and cherry wasn't necessarily a core item, it was mainly the apple. They were crispy, deep fried, and delicious. Yes, they were less healthy, but they tasted much better. They've totally lost the cherry and have changed over to the very dry, baked apple pie. And on a side note, how much fun were these commercials?
Ride our bikes tonight.
We're gonna bowl some strikes tonight. The music's rockin' alright, rockin' alright.
We're gonna see a movie tonight. Tonight.
We're gonna do the town right tonight. Do it with style. We're gonna stop for a bite tonight.
McDonald's
An
tonight.
old friend shining bright on your way.
Sundays and apple pie.
Sing a song you can taste. Put a smile on that hungry face. Sing a song of the taste. You can only find it one place. McDonald's. You deserve a break today. Big Mac, Filet-O-Fish, quarter pounder, French fries, icy Coke, big shake sundaes.
The 1980s also gave us the Chicken McNugget. McDonald's contracted Tyson Foods to create a winning product in 1979, and the McNugget debuted in 1983. I'm not sure if you can see this menu, but yes, you could order one Chicken McNugget for $1.30 or 20 for $3.90. And yeah, that weird professor guy also came back to help introduce Chicken McNuggets. The fun promotions. In 1988, McDonald's had a promotion where they would give you a record and you could play it and you would have a chance to win $1 million if it said so on the record itself.
And give a listener out there a chance to win $1 million. So, repeat after me.
Repeat after me.
No.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Here goes.
Here goes.
Big Mac, McDLT, a quarter pounder with some cheese, Filet-O-Fish, a hamburger, a cheeseburger, a Happy Meal, McNuggets, tasty golden french fries, regular or larger size, a salad, shepherd garden, or a chicken salad, oriental, big breakfast, egg and pumpkin, hot cakes and sausage, maybe biscuits, bacon, egg and cheese, or sausage, Denny's, hash brown stew, and for dessert, hot apple pies and sundaes, 3 varieties of sausage, 3 kinds of shakes and chocolate, each of cookies, and a drink of Coca-Cola, Diet Coke, and orange drink, a Sprite and coffee, decaf too, a low-fat milk, also an orange juice. I love McDonald's, good time, great taste, and I get this all at one place. Got it?
And this was a fun promotion that quite a few companies did. I remember Bloom County had Billy and the Boingers, and you would also find records right on the back of the cereal boxes that you could cut out. We're gonna put this under the same umbrella as promotions, and that's the McDonald's birthday parties. McDonald's birthday parties back then were a blast. It was a huge event, and if you were one of the lucky kids that got to host the party or go to the party, you know what a special time that was. You got sundaes, decorations, Happy Meals, cake, access to the outdoor play place that does not smell like a gym locker room like the indoor ones. Speaking of the play place, I know the idea was to keep kids from tumbling out onto the ground. But come on, that's kid jail. Also at the birthday parties in the 1980s, Ronald McDonald himself would sometimes make an appearance. I can't remember the last time I saw a Ronald McDonald clown in one of the McDonald's restaurants. Even the tray liners used to have games and fun on them. The last time I went to McDonald's, I think the tray liners had job applications on them. While they do still offer birthday parties depending on where you live and depending on the store franchise, it's not nearly the event it once was. The collectible glasses, how cool were these? I mean, they had the basic McDonald's ones, they had the movie tie-ins ones. There's really not much more to say about these other than how cool was it to have a set of these in your house. Actual gift certificates. I loved having paper gift certificates sticking out of my stocking on Christmas morning. I don't want an arch card. There was just something magical and tactile about getting an actual paper gift certificate. And we'll throw this under promotions too, but does anyone else remember this giant cooler of orange drink? It seemed like at any team sport I went to when I was younger, Little League, soccer, or anything back in the 1980s, it would be accompanied with this thing and filled with their orange drink, which was basically their version of Tang. Now, I'm not saying we had it all figured out in the 1980s. There's definitely been some changes that have been for the better. Like the packaging, so much styrofoam. And you used to be able to actually smoke in McDonald's and there were ashtrays on the table. And the Ronald McDonald House. Although it started in 1974, it's really become a huge helping hand for so many people as we progress through the years. This is one thing that I think keeps improving and is truly a great cause. It all began in Philadelphia in 1974 when Kim Hill, daughter of Philadelphia Eagles football player Fred Hill and his wife Fran, was being treated for leukemia at St. Christopher's Hospital for Children. During Kim's 3 years of treatment, the Hills often camped out on hospital chairs and benches and ate makeshift meals out of vending machines, all while watching other parents do the same. They learned that so many families travel great distances to bring their children to the medical facility and couldn't afford a hotel room. The Hills knew there had to be a better way. Fred rallied the support of the Eagles teammates to raise funds. Through Jim Murray, the Eagles general manager, the team offered its support to Dr. Audrey Evans, who was the head of Pediatric Oncology Unit at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. Dr. Evans dreamed of a comfortable, temporary residence for families of children being treated at their hospital. Listed Don Tuckerman from the local McDonald's advertising agency, who, with support of McDonald's regional manager, Ed Rincey, launched the St. Patrick's Day Green Milkshake promotion, now known as the Shamrock Shake. The funds raised went towards purchasing an old house located near the hospital. This would become their first Ronald McDonald house. So what did I miss? Let me know in the comments or if there's anything else you can recall from the 80s. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like this video, you'll instantly be teleported to 1983. And as always, have a wonderful day.
It's retro renaissance channel. All things 80s, it's gonna be fun. It's retro renaissance channel. Abundant topics, let's take them one by one. Remember hair metal, awesome bands, and platinum fever, that's all we have. TV shows that kept us